So when people feel tired, bloated, anxious or inflamed, they assume it's just stress or I'm just getting older. But what if one of the root causes was something far more mechanical, like the way that your rib cage moves or doesn't? Because here's the thing, when your rib cage becomes tight or restricted, it affects so much more than your posture. It begins to impact how your heart beats, how you breathe, how your gut functions, how you think, and even how your body responds to stress. Hi, I'm Alexis Wadeland, osteopath and co-founder of Blossoming Me and Healthy Learning Lounge. This week, we'll be exploring the powerful connection between your rib cage, movement, and the inner health, vitality, digestion, heart function, and even your ability to recover from burnout. And just as importantly, we'll look at practical ways that you can support this area and begin to shift how your whole body feels from the inside out. We tend to think of the rib cage as a solid, protective casing, but in truth, it's a dynamic, mobile structure that plays a central role in your body's communication network. Every breath that we take, every subtle shift of your ribs, sends signals to your autonomic nervous system, the system that runs your heart rate, your digestion, your immune function, and so much more. When the rib cage becomes stiff, collapsed, frozen, it's not just restricting movement, it limits internal messages and body rhythms. Think of your rib cage more as a conductor of an orchestra. If it's offbeat, everything else will fall out of sync. Your heart isn't just influenced by emotions and fitness. It's mechanically affected by the space that surrounds it. Nestled slightly to the left, the heart sits in the chest, protected by the rib cage, the muscles, the thoracic outlet, and the abdominal diaphragm. When this area becomes restricted or rigid, the heart can physically become compressed, less able to move, and it changes its ability to beat freely. Shallow breathing reduces the oxygen availability, making your heart have to work harder to meet demand. Vagal tone decreases. This is your body's way of regulating calm, recovery, and flexibility in stressful situations. Low vagal tone is linked to poor heart rate variability, anxiety, high blood pressure, and even poor sleep. Heart rate variability is your heart's ability to alter how hard and fast it beats on an individual moment-by-moment basis, based on what's going on in your body and the amount of stress that you're going through, the amount of exercise you're currently doing, that sort of thing. So that when you're exercising, your heart rate might go up to meet your generalized demand. But on a moment-by-moment situation where physiological changes happen in your body and stress levels and emotions change moment by moment, the actual amount of work that your heart has to perform actually changes. So your heart rate variability is your heart's ability to cope with that and to meet those demands. A habitually braced chest, common in chronic stress, keeps your body stuck in sympathetic overdrive, that fight-flight stress response, which elevates the strain that your heart is under and reduces your adaptability. Improving rib mobility and practicing full diaphragmatic breathing restores space for the heart to be able to move, beat, and regulate itself, bringing down stress and muscle tension from the inside. Your lungs are shaped and supported by your rib cage. Their ability to expand and function fully depends on the flexibility of the surrounding bones, joints, ligaments, and muscles. When rib movement is limited, whether due to stress, posture, injury, shallow breathing patterns, you begin to see a common cascade of events. Breathing becomes shallow, upper chest dominant, and more rapid. Neck, shoulder, and upper back muscles begin to take over the work of breathing, leading to tightness, tension, and poorer posture. Oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, which not only impacts the energy and brain function, but triggers more stress signaling. The brain interprets shallow breathing as a signal of danger. This signal amplifies anxiety, pain sensitivity, fatigue, and even alters your mental state. This then creates a feedback loop. Stress tightens the chest, breath becomes shallow, the body thinks it's under stress, more stress. When stress occurs, stress chemicals are released, breathing essentially stays shallow, and your brain function has to change. Breaking this loop starts with learning to breathe into the sides and back of your ribs, not just into the belly or into the top chest. This expands lung capacity and begins to soothe your nervous system. Your digestive system is extremely sensitive to the way that you breathe and the way that you move. That's because it's affected mechanically by the movement of the diaphragm, as well as directly linked to your autonomic nervous system, particularly via your vagus nerve. When the ribcage is tight and breathing is shallow, the diaphragm becomes constricted and moves much less, disrupting the natural pressure gradient between the chest and the abdomen. This pressure gradient change alters the flow of blood, food, and lymphatic fluid. It also increases the pressure on the stomach and esophagus, increasing the risk of a hiatus hernia or reflux and indigestion. There's less rhythmic pressure into the abdominal organs, which also affects and slows digestion and peristalsis. Vagal tone drops, leading to reduced enzyme output, sluggish gut motility, and it negatively affects the microbiome balance. When all of this happens, nutrient absorption decreases, while inflammation and discomfort increases. This can lead to people feeling heavy, bloated after meals, sluggish or foggy during the day, generally uncomfortable, emotionally ungrounded or stuck. It increases generalized inflammation and therefore can increase pain, especially if the brain is already on high alert. Gently mobilizing the ribcage and reconnecting with your diaphragm through conscious, slow breathing can support the gut's natural rhythm, helping you to digest better, to feel clearer, and to be more stable as well as more energized. When the ribcage is restricted long term, it doesn't just affect one organ. The consequences ripple outwards. Chronic inflammation, shallow breathing, less oxygen, more acidity, which increases oxidative stress, inflammation, and pain. Burnout. Ongoing mechanical tension mimics emotional bracing, reducing energy flow, cognitive clarity, mitochondrial function, and it lowers our resilience. Dysautonomia. Impaired communication between the brain and body can cause issues with heart rate, temperature regulation, digestion, and sleep. Chronic illness. The increased cardiovascular load, higher blood pressure, elevated heart rate, reduced heart capacity can all lead to or exacerbate cardiovascular disease. Respiratory strain. Asthma and emphysema and other respiratory issues can worsen due to internal and external lung pressures, adding more load to your lungs. Digestive decline. Long-term digestive dysfunction may lead to nutrient deficiencies, pain, immune compromise, and even autoimmune diseases. Mental health impact. Chronic stress, gut inflammation, and nutrient deficiencies can all intensify things like anxiety, depression, and other cognitive issues. You may not realize it, but symptoms like feeling tired no matter how much you rest, brain fog, poor memory, poor ability to make decisions, and that thing called decision fatigue, unexplained pain, digestive flare-ups and IBS type symptoms, they may all have their root, at least in part, in how well your ribcage moves and you breathe, and how this is supporting your internal systems. But the beautiful thing is, this shift doesn't have to be hard or harsh. Often, it can start with just simply creating space. It's not about doing more, it's about allowing. We've often been taught that a sign of being healthy and the way to improve health is to do more. More exercise, more supplements, more focus, more pushing through. But vitality can only happen when you create space for your body to breathe, to move, to repair, and to recalibrate. When your ribcage softens and moves correctly and your breath works well, then your nervous system can feel safe and shift gears. Your organs get the signal to function properly, and your body starts to return to its natural rhythm. Even just taking a few minutes, a few times a day, to stop and notice your breathing and allow it to return to a slow, deep, diaphragmatic rhythm can be enough to signal safety and bring you back into that engaged state where learning, healing, and comfort actually reside. If this is of interest to you and you want to go deeper, in my new RibCage Reset mini course, I guide you through how to safely and effectively mobilize your ribcage, breath work to restore calm, digestion, and energy, techniques to activate your nervous system so that you feel safe and present and able to let your body heal, and practical tools to support and integrate your whole body. It's a gentle, powerful step forward, especially if you're tired of pushing and ready to feel more connected, clear, and supported inside your own body. Next week, we'll explore how ribcage restrictions show up in your muscles, from chronic neck and shoulder tension to lower back pain, postural problems, and even how you walk. We'll also dive into one of my favourite cranial nerves, involved in movement and stabilising of the neck especially. Cranial nerve 11. Until then, give yourself the gift of just one moment of intentional breathing every day. Because when your ribcage moves, your whole body gets the chance to realign and to heal.
So that's it for today. Did it raise any questions or aha moments? If so, I'd love to hear them, so please put those in the comments section. I love answering questions. I hope you found today useful. And if you know someone who could use this information, please share it. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, and in health, bye for now.